Hi, this is Thread Racer. I'm very excited to show you today, hopefully, a no-death run in Super C for the NES. As you already know, or you may or may not know, I already have on my YouTube channel a no-death run of the arcade version of this, which is called Super Contra. This one's called Super C. Not certain I'm actually going to get the no-death run, but I guarantee this will be at least a no-continue run, because it's pretty easy to get a no-continue run, I mean, relatively, because you actually get a lot of free guys in this game. If you beat the game with a no-death run, you'll have about a dozen guys at the time that you finish the game. Now, there was a code, and I have no idea what it is, because believe me, I don't use it, that made it so that you could get 10 lives at the start, and I guess 10 lives with each continue, I imagine, as opposed to 3. And people actually complained because they liked the code that they had in Contra for the NES, which was which was 30 lives. So, you know, believe me, I don't need those codes. Now, this is a very interesting weapon. Very interesting story behind this weapon. You know, I've heard it called the shotgun, and that makes perfect sense because of the way, you know, the way it spreads out. And, you know, it's an S. The power-up is an S. But I've also heard it said that it's the spread gun. And, you know, I always figured that was, like, kind of funny that people thought it was the spread gun. But, you know, right before this video, I actually looked and found the manuals for both Contra and Super Contra for the NES. And it actually says in those manuals, it is the spread gun. I'm surprised by that. I really thought it was the shotgun. And I think maybe it really is, and maybe they kind of screwed it up when they created the manuals. So, I don't know, maybe the Japanese actually thought of it as the shotgun, and it was just a mistake in translation. It's very fascinating to me. Now, you know, one thing that's interesting is I take the machine gun, that's my weapon of choice for the arcade version, but for this version, my weapon of choice is, oh, you know, I probably shouldn't have taken that. I don't know if I got an R yet. Well, probably doesn't matter, but if you see the R, that actually stands for rapid. That just makes your bullets move faster. And the idea is, you know, they terminate. They get off the screen or they disappear faster, so you can reload. You know, basically you can shoot again. That's why rapid helps you. But if you get rapid, and then you just pick up the gun again. So like if you get S, then you get R, then you have a rapid spread. Then you get S again, you just have a regular spread. It's not a rapid spread anymore. And that's not good. But I like to get all these I can because you get a lot of points, I think, for shooting those things, the power-ups, the power-up orbs, or whatever they're called. And you get a lot of points for picking up those guns. But, you know, I'm not going to, like, pick up a laser, which is the worst weapon in the game, and just to get points. That's the L. Really takes it to a new level, recording this for you guys, because, you know, it's always exciting to play this game and fun, but to be recording it as well, it's fun. It's fun to know there's going to be an audience. Okay, I'm going to use the trick, which doesn't work in the arcade. You get right behind him. It's like really a glitch. You see, in the arcade, there's no room behind him. And he moves back and forth like really fast in the arcade. You cannot use that trick in the arcade. The arcade version. I just think it'd be fun. You know, I'm an expert of both the NES version and the arcade version. I thought it would be fun to point out some of the similarities and differences between the versions. The arcade version and this version, they're very much different. I'll get into that more as we progress here, as I progress. Well. I don't want to talk too much, because, you know, watching my old videos, I think that it kind of got to be a little bit annoying how much I was talking. One thing I'll point out about this game, in a way, in a sense, it's actually harder to get a no-death run in this game than it is the arcade version. And the reason I say that is, for one thing, the levels are longer. They're a little bit more repetitive, but they are longer. In the arcade, they're very non-repetitive, and there is some repetitiveness in this. It doesn't make it uninteresting or anything, but and it's not excessive, but it's just like no repetitiveness in the arcade at all. The levels are actually somewhat short. Plus, another very important point is that the arcade version has only 5 levels, and this version has 8. So obviously, there's levels that did not even exist in the arcade version. Now, the first 3 levels did exist in the arcade version, except for this part. Everything from here on was not in the arcade version. Everything from here on this level. This guy's pretty tough. I mean, I have a good weapon here. And he still takes a long time to bring down. It's a pretty easy, you know, technique that you use to beat him, but still, it's not as easy as it looks, really. One thing I like to do is jump on his head when he's blowing up. Typically, when the enemies are dying, they can't hurt you anymore, even though they're like exploding all over the place. Now, I don't want that. Don't want to lose my rapid spread. I don't even know if I have rapid spread. I don't remember if I got an R yet or not. This can be a tough fight. You know it's a tough fight when I get so quiet. Ooh. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Next level, level 4, does not exist in the arcade whatsoever. Completely new. I certainly really like what they did with this version. I mean, you know, the hardware in the arcade machine was very much superior to the NES, Nintendo Entertainment System hardware, and you know, they managed to still make this a great game on its own. And there could be an argument made that this game's better than the arcade version because of the fact the levels are longer, because of the fact that there's 8 levels instead of 5. I wouldn't be one that would agree with that argument. I would say probably I still like the arcade version better. Like I've said, as I explained in the video for the no death run of the arcade version, the control in the arcade version is phenomenal. It's actually better than this. This is excellent control in this game, but in the arcade version it's even better. Absolutely, even better. And I'm not talking about because you're using a joystick or anything like that. I mean, because of the fact that you can, in the arcade version, Oh boy, look at that. Ooh. You know, every single time I play this game, I have near-death experiences. So that's why, you know, it's really something special to get a no-death run in this game. So, no matter how good you are at it, you're always going to have near-death experiences. I also like to, you know, shut my mouth every now and then so that you guys can hear the music and the sounds and enjoy that as well. I don't have the volume very loud, but... I wanted the microphone volume, or my volume, and the volume of the game to be about on the same level anyways. I wouldn't want the game to be louder than me. I probably would want it to be slightly more quiet than me. If I say something, it's because, you know, it's a point that I want to make. Oh man, do you see that? Near the death experience. You know, one of my favorite lines from Game of Thrones is something, I don't know if I'm going to get this right, but it's like, there is only one God, and he is death. That's not right. There is only one God, death. And what do we say to death? Not today! I totally botched that, but you get the idea. You know the quote I'm talking about. That's what I think all the time when I'm playing this game and any Contra game and I have one of those near-death experiences. I think about that quote. All too easy. Very good level, completely original, created brand new for the NES version. And this is yet another one, brand new, did not exist in the arcade whatsoever. With one exception, which I will, which is that the final boss of this level was actually the mid-level boss of level 4 of the arcade version. And I'll talk about that more once I get to him, probably. Now this part can be pretty tough. You gotta take these weapons out fast. These guns out fast. It can be a pretty tough stretch right there. Potentially. I just missed that jump. Can you believe that? See? Unbelievable. Like, what if that had been a pit there? Well, hopefully I would have been focusing more if it had been. Alright, don't want the slow spread. Alright. This game is always a rush. Maybe just a little bit more, knowing that I'm being recorded. I think so. This part's tough, you know. Ooh, so many close calls. Okay, now this is the mid-level boss from level 4 of the arcade version. And I'm probably not going to talk much, because this is going to be pretty intense. Oh yeah! Thank goodness for like the little break you have between levels, because it's like, otherwise I just don't know if I could take the intensity. Of course, I'm not pausing, and sometimes I would pause, but I'm going to try not to pause for you guys, of course. I don't want to have to go and use video editing software. I want to just have this go, you know, just a straight. Oh, okay. Oh man, I thought. Okay, I'm not gonna quit. I'm still gonna have a no continue run. I don't know what I was thinking of that. I just didn't think he was that close. But that happens. One shot and a no death run is gone. One hit. It's a long game to not get hit in. It's a lot longer than the arcade version, as I've said. Oh man, that was almost another one. It would be really interesting to see. I always find it so interesting to watch the video to see when I died, and like, wow, you know, you get like new insight into like, okay, what was, how avoidable was that, you know? I don't know. I really don't know right now. I don't know if it's just that I just lost my concentration for a moment there, or if that was really a difficult spot. I think it's still possible for them to appear right underneath you in that spot. Those worms. That's what those are. Those mouths that come up. That's the mouths of worms. This game's inspired by many great movies, and I think that it's inspired by the movie Dune. Maybe, or maybe it's Tremors, or maybe it's both. I think that's where they got the idea for those worms. Probably Dune. This game is obviously very much inspired by the movie Aliens and the movie First Blood Part 2, Rambo. But, you know, I got my, I'm kind of changing the subject here, but I've got my, I think this is the slow spread. Rapid doesn't really make that big of a difference. So, you know, it's also hard. It's much more devastating to actually get hit in the arcade version, because you can recover it in the NES version much more easily. Because as soon as you pick up the spread gun again, you're in pretty good shape. Luckily, I didn't lose two guys before I didn't lose a second guy before I got the spread gun. Oh, and I didn't mention, this is another level. The level before this, which was level 6, it was in the arcade. That's actually the final level of the arcade version. Now this level is also original, as is the level that follows this. So there's actually 4 original levels in the NES. Half the levels are completely original. So it's really cool. But they're good levels, absolutely. And the reason that there's, if you do the math, there's 5 levels in the arcade version, 8 in the NES, but there's 4 original levels in the NES version. How can that be? The reason for that is there's actually a level that's in the arcade that's not in the NES version, and that's level 4. And if you want to know what that's like, you know, look at my video of the complete game no death run of Super Contra Arcade. That level 4 you see, that is not in this version at all. Now this guy is basically inspired. This boss is basically inspired by the level 3 boss of the arcade, but it's nothing like the level 3 boss of the arcade. Level 3 boss, that thing in the middle, that circular thing in the middle, that's a nest of larvae, and every time you shoot it, like you know, randomly, an unpredetermined number of larva comes shooting out of the nest. It's really incredible fight. If you want to see that, look at the complete game, no death run of the arcade version. This is nothing like it, but you know. So it's funny how in some ways this game just is so sad compared to so disappointing compared to the arcade version, but it has other ways in which it's actually superior to the arcade version. And it's really, you know, brilliant the way they did that to make this a great, great game. Now this is a great level. This is a really cool level. Another level that did not exist in the arcade version. These xenomorphs, of course, from the movie Aliens, which are running around. They're the, you know, upright creatures you see running along the ground there. Those are only in the missing level in the arcade version, the level 4. And, forgot what I was going to say. Kind of makes sense that I lost my train of thought there, considering the fact I was just making the hardest jump in the game. It's kind of understandable. This part can be really tough. Look at this. I had to jump between the bullets because the guy was coming up, you know, behind me. It's like, that's a real death trap. But, you know, there's randomness here. Sometimes the guy is actually coming from the front instead of the back. So you just shoot him easily, and you don't have to jump between the bullets like that. It's you know, just like the arcade version. Another thing that they, you know, they captured like the most important aspects of what made the arcade version so great. I wonder how long this recording is going to be. That's going to be really interesting to see because then I'll be able to basically see what the difference is in the length of the games. Because I have the complete game run of Super Contra Arcade, and I also will have a complete game run of Super C NES, and I get to see how the length of the videos compare. That'll be interesting. Seems like I have not been playing long here. Time's really flying here. This is the last level. This is level 8. I don't know if you've been keeping count, but it is. And I'll tell you right now, I've got about a dozen free guys. And you know what? It looks like this is probably going to be a 2-death run, or 1 death run. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a shame I'm not going to have the no death run on video. But maybe I will be inspired to try again sometime. But I'm not going to wait for that. I'm just going to go ahead and post this on my YouTube channel. And most likely won't be... Oh my... That guy was going to land on my head. Yeah, it's going to be a 2-death run. Actually, I haven't actually had even this good of a run of it in some time. I think back in January I played this some. And I actually did have a no-death run at that time. But I've played it recently, and I have not had a no-death run. I don't think I've even had a 1-death run. So close. Yeah, and the final boss is really easy. And you can jump on top of his, you know, non-existent body, strangely. That's it. That's the game. So... No, you know, the difficulty level is not adjustable in this, so, you know, that's, you know, completely done. Once you beat this game on a no-death run, and you've done everything. Unlike the arcade version, you're always like, oh boy, but I could play it on difficult, and I could play it on very difficult. But you have a sort of in a way, you have a greater sense of satisfaction knowing that you've done the ultimate with this game. And I absolutely did not use any cheats or anything like that. This is with an emulator running on my PC, but I did not cheat in any way. And just interestingly, once you get to this point, you hit start, it lets you restart. See, I have 11 guys. And I'm not going to play. You lose your weapon, though. And I'm almost certain, I think I have actually played through the game again and this is actually not any more difficult. So I'm going to stop it now. Thanks for watching, guys. Later.